Africa, Mr. Henry was enjoying the song, but you know what? I'm enjoying Mr. Henry, so I need to squeeze the information that he has as much as possible. Mr. Henry, now we're going for the third person in the professional team.
Okay.
Yes.
So remember, the architect comes up with what is called an SDP,
okay,
which is a site development plan, where he will show to the council what can be put on this site.
Lovely, sir. So
it comes up with, there's the artistic impression, something that is called a site development plan.
Yes, sir.
Now, once that is done, it has got to go to the local municipality.
Okay.
To the town planning department, who will then look at this, and then they'll say, okay, fine, this is in line with our vision for the city in terms of densification, and we agree with this, we are going to support it.
Okay.
But Gavin, it's not as easy as that.
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
Because your rezoning, right, by and large, takes between 6 to 36 months.
Between 6 months and 36 months.
And 36 months.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I've heard the cities trying to expedite, to shorten the time, but that's the period that it normally takes.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about why for a second, Henry. I've also experienced certain issues on zoning and things like this. And from, the man on the street and to a certain extent our listeners' perspective, a lot of the time they the view and on zoning and on administrative action of this sort with the council is person goes and delivers papers to the council and it takes, 6 to 36 months for someone to look at it. Please debunk this myth for us, that it doesn't sit on someone's desk in the same pile for 36 months before they look at it.
No, okay. Within the city, right, there are various departments that have got to look at this. You have got you have got parks. You have got JRA, roads. You have got water
and sewage,
and electricity. Yeah. So basically, there are about close to about 9 signatures from various departments. So what then happens is that this SDP is going to be circulated to each of those departments, and each department has got to approve that.
Yes, sir.
Right.
And you say approve, Henry, you don't mean, yes, I've seen this piece of paper, here's a rubber stamp, done. Now, what we're talking about specifically with these kinds of SDPs is the city itself, looking to see, as you've mentioned, that the development fits with the general feel and look, but it's also a possibility, to my mind, from the city side. Now, if you're looking at building a giant mall on a piece of land that is zoned agricultural and has precisely 0 pipes connecting it to the sewage system, you are going to have certain troubles with the sewage and water department. Am I correct?
Very much so. And also remember that if you look at a lot of those projects, like for instance a residential, you might find that this land was zoned residential 1. In other words, you can only do 1 dwelling unit.
1, 2 years.
So the moment when you densify this and say you are now going to have 80 units or 100 units, right? Take average a family of 4. Yeah. So you are now bringing in how many people? 400 people. But initially, now there's going to be pressure in terms of services, in terms of water, in terms of sewer, in terms of electricity.
Yes.
So the city has got to budget for that. That's why there's what is called bulk contribution. So you have to pay contribution towards the additional bulk that the city is going to allocate.
And now we're talking about those things under the ground.
Under the ground.
The big sewage pipe.
Yes,
all those things.
All that.
Interesting.
And that's why, Gavin, and that's what I wanted to point out to our listeners, is that we're talking about small pieces of a very, very big puzzle here.
Yes.
That and I'm by no means standing up for the city councils. They know what I think of them. It's fine.
Yeah.
But there is obviously a reason behind administrative action like this, and the reason why it takes probably longer than it should in certain circumstances.
So that the person understands why the 36
exactly.
months.
Why the 36 months and what's going on behind the scenes?
That's like 3 years.
Sorry?
That's like 3 years.
That's long, exactly. Yes. But again,
look. it varies. Sometimes it might be shorter. All right.
Yes.
But normally, by and large, is between 3 to 24 or 36 months.
Which obviously depends on heavily on the site that's been chosen, on the infrastructure that exists already.
Yes.
So, I mean, it is a very big process, but I just want us and all of our listeners to realize that Rome wasn't built in a day, and this is why. Because if it was built, we would then have all of these lovely things on land that might be sinking into the ground, that isn't serviced by any kind of utilities.
Yes.
And that's the joys in running a city, is that from a holistic perspective, there's a lot to be thought about.
Because you must take care of the people.
Exactly. And you must have a long-term goal.
Yes, the last thing you want is to see death, building collapsing. That will be worse, isn't it?
Yes. Gavin, if you talk of cities, right, you need to have town planning. You need to have prudent planning.
Yes.
There has to be planning.
Yes.
And you need to look at what is going to happen to Joburg in the next 20 years.
That's correct.
I think the city they have this 2040 vision.
Yes.
What is going to happen to that? So you need to plan, right, in that. But if you look at our cities, and I think, Gavin, you have seen this slide that in one of the presentations.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I mean, ideally, you start with town planning, right, and you end up with occupation.
Yes.
But with a lot of our informal areas, we start with occupation.
I was going to mention informal areas as well. Yeah.
So basically, you have people that occupy, right?
Yes.
People occupy first,
Yes.
right? And then after they've occupied, then you need them to plan, to say, how do we now plan?
Yes.
Right. Which is the reverse of what should be happening.
And meanwhile, while you're planning, there are service delivery strikes going on here.
I'm telling you. People are not happy. In fact, in my area, same thing is happening. There's a plot where it was empty and then people moved. And now, obviously, the council is, making sure that the place becomes habitable. But my residents are not happy at all because they are paying for services. And if people can get things for free, they are also asking why can't they get things for free? Because they're busy paying. So,
of course.
But that's the truth of it.
Let's rein back to topic, though, Gavin.
Yes, sir.
So we were discussing. You now have. Let's run through it again, Henry. You have developer, you have architect, you have town planner. You have.
Okay. Let's fast track this. Let's assume, right, that the council has come to the party.
Yes.
That all those departments have come to the party.
Yeah.
Right. They've now approved the site development plan.
Lovely.
Right. Now, once that has been approved, right, there are also certain things that you need to do. You then get the architect to do the drawings. Right. Once he has done the drawings, you want to know what is this development going to cost.
Yes.
You then bring in a quantity surveyor.
Yes, sir.
A quantity surveyor will then give you a price.
That will be your bills of quantity.
Yes, your BOQ, your bill of quantities.
Your bricks.
Your bricks.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So basically, you'll have your land costs, your construction, your professional fees, your contingency, all those costings, borrowing cost, and that.
Yes.
But what is very important, Gavin, especially when you are doing what is called greenfield. Greenfield is basically land that you are going to develop.
Yes, sir.
Is to have what is called a geotechnical report.
Geotechnical report, yes, sir.
Geotech gives you, what the soil condition is like. Now, you don't want a situation where you go and you do all this and you have not done a geotech. And you start building and you find that there's what?
Dolomite.
There's clay or dolomite.
Yeah.
Now, when the QS has done the costing, he didn't take that into account.
Yeah.
And when you then realize that, the costs to remedy that becomes astronomical.
Of course.
So, Gavin, for the sake of listeners, if they are going to be doing a greenfield development,
yes, sir,
or they are taking virgin land that they are going to develop either into commercial or into residential,
yes, sir,
it's paramount, it's pivotal to have your geotechnical report. Spend that extra money,
yes,
and make sure that.
In fact, it goes further because what you taught us in class, or me specifically, was that don't break the building completely. Because you're still going to need that geotag.
Yes.
Because there's someone, apparently, I mean, one of the exercises was that someone bought something in town and he took down the building. And now he finds that that's all he can't do anything.
Exactly.
And now the cost is, as you say, exorbitant.
Yeah.
And now you're out.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, I mean, you've heard the horror stories happening. If we're talking about clay and dolomite bases, often you'd miss that. You're talking about specifically at quantity surveyor phase. Let's take it a step further. Construction already happens. Occupation then happens 2 or 3 years later because, the earth is something that Mother Nature tends to move quite slowly. 3 or so years, you find out whatever. You've got a high water table, X, Y, and Z. There is the possibility of your house actually, let's call it cracking in half.
Yeah.
Becoming untenantable, like you say, uninhabitable. And these are long-term things where you may have to reconstruct your entire premises because you've skipped a step.
You know what was interesting, Brendan? I was involved when I was working for one of the banks with a big project, but I can't mention that project.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, I'll be in trouble. But what happened was...
We don't want it to be.
You've got a lawyer present. Don't worry.
But what happened is that this was a retail development, all done, up to roof level. And there was no geotech that was done. Remember, this is a big shopping center, 60,000 square meters.
That is big. Sure.
Right? And then as you get roof level, the load bearing, everything collapsed. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the cost of that, Gavin?
You said what you said to me, Mr. Henry, was that you love developing people. It's your calling. This is what you love. And to me, it was so surprising that people who buy properties, such properties, can also do mistakes. Because I'm only involved in residential. It is only through your mentorship now I'm doing commercial properties. I'd never thought people in commercial properties do such mistakes until I was in class and I was like, oh, I thought only people are buying 2 bedrooms or maybe township properties. Only those people do problems, not the fundis, the educated.
Kevin, they're all human beings.
Yes, sir.
They're all human beings. And, sometimes we pay big school fees.
But that one's a very big one.
Yeah.
That's an expensive lesson, I agree.
It's very, very, very expensive.
But I guess it's expensive to everybody, isn't it? I mean, if I'm buying a property worth 500,000, I use a bank, it means I didn't have that money. So it's school fees. And then if you're earning R1 million every year, buying a property worth 50 million, that's another school fees.
Yeah, but Gavin, remember, that's why it's important.
Yes, sir.
To have a qualified, experienced, professional team.
Yes, sir.
On your side.
Pay them well, isn't it?
Pay them. Yes, pay them. Because they are going to save you.
Drama.
At the end.
Yeah.
So you need, right. And you know what we normally do?
Yes, sir.
Brendan, is that because I now want to become a developer. Right. I have this dream. And one day I'm driving, I pass through one of the safe stations, and who do I meet? A friend of mine that I went to school with. And we haven't met for the past 20 years. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Says to you, I'm an architect. Oh, you know what? I'm doing a development. Come and do my drawings. And sometimes we tend to get people who are, one, they're not registered. Or we get people who, yes, they might be architects, but they are not registered and they are not qualified. And we intend to bring, friends.
Yes.
And I've got an opportunity. Let me bring my friends so that they can also see that I'm doing well. That's one of the biggest problems that...
Henry, if I can stop you there, I think also a lot of this... Look, friends and nepotism aside, I agree with you completely there. There's also the perspective of the person just not being very good at what they do. But a lot of the time as well, what we're talking about is the bottom line, which is cold hard cash. A lot of people, whether they do or do not know the person, will settle on the cheapest option, which is not a good idea either.
Yes.
But you know what, Brendan? There's also, you can get some qualified people, right? And you can agree with them to say, you know what, I need you to work on risk up to a certain point. So they come there, you pay them something, right? But you're not paying them full professional fees so that they can produce the drawings. So they are prepared to work on risk up to a certain point.
Yeah.
So a lot of the professionals are prepared to work on risk. Right? But provided once you have got all your approval in place, you continue to use them. Because what happens with other people is that you come and work on risk, and then the project is now approved, it's about to start, and then you say, no, you know what, I'm now going to get XYZ.
You disappear now. We come with stories.
Exactly.
That's not good. Wow, this time, 5 minutes, I'm telling you, I'm not happy. It's just disappears.
Yeah. We're clearly having a lot of fun.
Henry, as you're talking about developers, a person who, when you spoke about you meeting a friend at the garage, you just reminded me when we were in class, you gave us another example. Here is a beautiful garage. Behind it, there is what you call, what is this term? The very, very old people who lives in the suburbs. They take care of these buildings. What do we call it, man, in class? You can't just break it. You can't break that building because it's
a heritage site.
Heritage. Thank you.
Heritage.
Yes. So a developer is also someone who can renovate, isn't it?
Yes.
It's something that he likes.
Yes.
But over and above the 3 to 6 months from the city council, you still have to take heritage, isn't it?
Yes. Remember heritage, right?
Yes,
it's a building that is 60 years plus. Yeah. Any building that is older than 60 years is classified as a heritage building.
Yes.
Right. And also, you look at the architecture and all that.
Yes.
So when you want to do any revamp,
yes,
right, you need to get approval from the Heritage Council.
Yes. Give us one of the stories as we close with this.
Gavin, my email address is Henry, Henry, at boldmoves, BOLDMOVES 63 as a number .co.za.